Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be a devlog video, and so I'm going to be showing you the newest features of the mod that I've been working on. This is in 1.21.4 Fabric, and working on the 4.1 version, or as I said before, I might change the numbering, but I'm not sure yet. So let me just real quick start a new creative world, not super flat, and then show you what I've been working on. Wow, we spawned in the plains and snowy biome, kind of in the intersection of that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is grab my needed stuff for building a railway, so I guess a dashboard, a brush, a rail, siding, yeah, platform, rail, just the bare essentials. So you notice that some of these blocks, they don't have proper tooltips or proper item names. And a lot of things are not complete yet, but this is just a preview of what's to come. So let me go ahead and build a siding. It doesn't really matter where I put it, I guess. Just gonna randomly put it here, just gotta make it a straight. It doesn't even need to be a straight siding, but just something. Alright, I'm just gonna build this right here, and then this UI got a little bit messed up, so ignore that. Last video had better UI design. Anyway, I'm going to create a depot and put my first train on here. So let's just put something like that. Doesn't matter. Alright, so the train's here. Now let me build a short little section of track just to demonstrate the new feature. So I'm going to have a platform kind of like this. Really rough layout. And then another platform. Wow, the rails look kind of cool with the snow actually. Never really noticed that before. Alright, so I have a very basic setup. Okay, I've put some platform blocks as well, set everything up in the dashboard. Everything should look fine. And, oh, I probably shouldn't do unlimited vehicles. Or maybe I'll just make a loop back to the depot here with one-way tracks, so that the trains won't get jammed like this. Alright, refresh the path again, and the train should be arriving pretty soon. So the first thing that I want to show you all is the new rail modification screen. So I've heard some feedback from the last video, the last devlog, where you all commented on the new UI changes for the dashboard. Now, some people say the screen was too dark. Like for example, the station edit screen, this is all black and it's kind of hard to see. And for example, the depot screen, all the sliders are here like this. It looks quite different from the old dashboard screen. And I know some of you might be used to the old one. So I've took some of those feedback items into consideration. So this is what the new rail edit screen looks like. So let me click on a rail, and you can see that this screen looks much more Minecraft-y. So that's what I've been working on. You can see a preview of the rail. This is my platform rail. It's going to open up in the angle that you kind of clicked it in. So this block is closer to me and this block is farther away from me. I can edit the styles just like before, flip the rail models, change the shape of it. Right now it's a quadratic shape. I can also change it to 2 radii and change the radius, and you can see the preview in real time. So for example, if I want a perfectly straight track, I'm going to set the vertical radius to 0. I also heard some feedback from you all that you prefer some of the sliders to have a numeric input, like a manual input as well. So now you can do that. You can type in whatever number you want, and the slider will update as well. Or I can just use the slider and then the number will update as well. So if I set it to 0, as you can see, the actual track turns out to be perfectly straight. and then if I change the radius, the track will be curved. And you can see that the train immediately updates to snap to the rail shape instead of having to refresh the path again. So that is a new change as well. So let me change the vertical radius back to 0, and you can see the train snap back in place after the rail has been updated. Alright, so that is the first tab for the rail appearance. This stuff exists in the mod already, but what's new is this tab for the rail cant. So what this means is the tilt of the rail, basically. So as you can see, there are two markers right now, the red marker and the pink marker. So these are corresponding to these two boxes. If I adjust the red one, for example, I can change the angle at which the rail sits at that point. I don't know how to explain this very well, but rail cant is basically talking about the tilt of the rail. So if I want this part to be 26 degrees and I want that part to be 0, this is what the rail will look like. And now the train is kind of tipped as well to match that. And on that side, we have a 0-degree angle still. Now let me change the rail so that that side has an angle as well. So right now it's going from 26 to 0. Let me make this like -74. That's a super steep angle that I don't think any rails in real life will actually be like that. So now this side is 74 now. And it's a crazy steep, look at the trains. Crazy steep slope right there. And you might have noticed that once I edited this angle, this connecting rail will automatically have its angle updated as well. So you don't have to come into here, edit this rail, and then manually change this angle. It should update automatically. Also, when I build a new rail and join it to this node right here, let's wait for the train to go. If I join it to this node right here, the rail will automatically snap to the angle that's here. So this is just for convenience and so that you wouldn't have two rails kind of not matching angles, because that's not very realistic. And you can see it's 74.1 as well. So let me make the angle a little bit smaller. And it's also actually in the wrong direction, because when trains are turning left, the angle should be tilted inwards, not the other way around. So it should be like this. This is way too dramatic of an angle, but it's kind of a similar idea. Okay, so let's see what happens when we actually ride the train into the curve. Actually, before I show that, I just selected the curve right here, and I can actually adjust how many points there are on this curve. So for example, if I do 3 points, this curve is actually joined by a straight section and a 90-degree curve section. So by making the number of points 3, I now have a third point to work with, which is this middle point right here. So I can adjust the tilt individually and keep the other 2 points what it was. So let's see, maybe I want to do something like this and make the inner angle a little steeper than these two. I can also do it like that. And so this is what that looks like. Or if I want to make something crazy, I can make the middle point all the way tilted to the other direction, upside down, 180 degrees, but upside down. So if I break some of these blocks, you can see that the track is actually upside down at this point, and then it quickly flips over back to this angle. Let's see what the train looks like when it passes through. That looked kind of crazy. Alright, let's adjust this again, and actually maybe it's better if I showed this up here instead. So instead of doing it in the track that's half buried by snow, let me do it up here, just as a demonstration on what the track tilting will look like. All right, so back to 2 points. I'm gonna make this go from 0 degrees. So this is the red side. I wanna make this, let's say 56.5 degrees. So just as you might expect, from 56.5 to 0. Now, if I want to add a third point, then that would be in the middle. Because this is an S-curve, it's joined by two kind of similar looking curves. So the middle point will be pretty much at where the middle is expected to be. Okay, so you can see that my middle point, which is around here, is adjusted to the angle that I just changed to. All right, so 4 points will instead remove that middle point and add this orange one, oh no, this yellow one and the blue one. So you notice that the yellow one is right next to the red one at the moment. That's because I need to adjust the orange distance. So the orange slider will affect where the yellow point will be. Sometimes you might want to do a 90-degree turn on your rail, but you don't want the tilting to happen right where the start node is. So if you set a fourth point to be right there, then you can adjust how far from the node you want the tilt to start happening. So for example, let's reset this back to 0, and then we can adjust the curve, the tilt, 5.1 meters after the start and 34.2 degrees like that. So there it is. And then similarly for the other side, I want this tilt to appear a little bit after the start point. I can do that as well. Negative 40 degrees, about 7 meters from the second node. So this is what that would look like. All right. Similarly, I can make this 5, and that will add, let's see what that adds. That would add the middle point back. These arrows aren't really supposed to show up because they're not any sliders. But you can still adjust. It's just a visual issue, not really a functional issue, because you can still adjust these points. You can adjust the angles, and you can adjust the middle point. Note that the middle point is always going to be fixed. It's where the two rail sections are joined together. So this middle point, you can only adjust the angle. All right, now let's make that into 6. Basically, it adds some more distances based off the middle point where you can adjust the distances and the angles. I'll let you all play around with this. You can build the source yourself from GitHub and test this out for yourself. But I won't go into too much detail for 6 or 7 points because it's pretty similar to the other one. So here I created some sort of crazy track. Okay, so let's move on to what happens when you are actually riding the train with some tilt applied to it. So let me get on this train. As you can see, the hitbox also adjusts accordingly. This is probably a really bad example because I'm clipping into the blocks. But as you can see, when I walk across the train, my player position kind of adjusts as expected to the actual tilt of the train. But my player body doesn't actually tilt at the moment. So it's just, I don't know, it's just the train model gets tilted. The player perspective doesn't actually get tilted. So if you create a roller coaster and do like a corkscrew or something, your perspective won't actually change. I'll probably modify this in the future so that your player perspective also tilts. That would be pretty cool, but I don't know. I feel like in real life there's a certain amount of tilt before your player actually will tilt with the train. But I'm not sure. I have to give that a little more thought. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of what's coming into the mod. A huge thank you for the ANTE add-on, which implemented a lot of these features as an add-on for the 3.0 version of this mod. But in 4.0, the ANTE add-on doesn't work with 4.0 at the moment. So I decided it would be a good opportunity to add this feature into the base mod as well, because this is quite a highly requested feature, I think. Let me know if you have any comments about this and for the new UI as well. This is a little bit of a spoiler, this slider right here, of what's to come. But right now this slider does nothing, so don't get too excited. Yeah, let me know what you think about the UI, what I can improve, and if I should convert everything else into this Minecraft-y style as well. I quite like this, and I think it fits the mod. It's not like overly modern, like a super dark mode display. So I do like the new UI design, but let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and I'll see you next time. Bye!